Good afternoon and welcome to the Monday, September 15th, 2008 informational meeting of the Sioux Falls City Council. I'll now call this meeting to order. And our first order of business is a City Council staff report. We're going to get updates from Deborah A. Owen, City Clerk.
Thank you and good afternoon, Sioux Falls City Council. One of the first items we have our ongoing Inside Town Hall meetings that are taped at Channel 16. And the next taping will be September 22nd at 12:15 or 12:30. So for those council members who would like to be considered for that show or those two segments, please let our office know. And we're also kind of thinking that maybe down the road, for the ease of council members, is to have sort of a roster, and we'll just kind of roll through each of you, and so that you can all be have a segment on Inside Town Hall on a regular basis. In addition, just to remind you that the the joint Lincoln County meeting for September 29th has been canceled. I know that there was some interest in the past discussions concerning putting the coffee for the council at that time, and so I leave that to your discretion, but that is open now. It's September 29th, the last Monday of September. Also, on your agenda for your 7 o'clock meeting tonight, you will find that there is the proposal to move. There's several items to move. Item 21 is the street vacation. That was actually delayed because we didn't have 6 council members to vote on that last Monday. So that one is being requested as a courtesy to move it up. In addition, as a courtesy would be item 22 before number 12 and item 23 after number 12. Number 12 is the second penny vote. There are 5 items on tonight's agenda that relate to the street funding package. Those 2 resolutions relate to those, and so we have that all in there for you, a motion, a second, with 1 motion, if you so choose. Also to remind you that there is an executive session following today's 4 o'clock informational. And then at your desks there is page 2 of the Duncan and Associates final study that was given to the council some time ago in your black book from Mark Cotter, which had a summary of a number of things concerning the street funding package. If you'll notice, there is a comparative fees table on page 2, and if you would like more information on how those fees break out, that's a national average. But that was taken from 270 communities, so if you'd like to have some more detail, I can provide that for you. Just see me after the meeting today. And then finally, on the budget adoption, which is further on in the agenda tonight at 7 o'clock, I think it's item 28. But there was, noticed in the resolution that is currently scheduled, it doesn't include any amendments by the council. So should the council amend any of the mayor's budget tonight, we have a substitute resolution that will just provide that language. Otherwise, if there are no amendments that are adopted, and the proposed resolution from the mayor's administration will work just fine. It's just more of a housekeeping issue, no big deal, just to let you know that we may be talking about that later. I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Questions of Deborah?
Yes, I do have a question. It's probably not really directly at Deborah, but in regard to the executive session, we're going to be talking about my issue that these fees are really taxes. And I guess I was wondering why we can't talk about that in the open. So
I'm going to defer that to the city attorney, Amundsen.
I don't know if this is on or not.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you why I don't think you can, okay. And you don't have to buy in hook, line, or sinker or not, but you're asking for my advice. Because it has to do with legal work product. And whether or not I say it is or not is based upon research that's been done. And I don't want, to give that out with, just to my client is who I want to give that information out to, counselor. And that's why. Yeah.
So just to clarify then, if the client, being the city council, thinks that we don't need an executive session, that would be okay then? Or?
It'd be over my advice, but who says they can't override anything I say? Huh? You can put. You don't have to put much stock in it. All I can give you is my best shot.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else? Very good.
Just,
Councilor Costello.
if I might, on the, regarding the motions to amend the schedule, I'm asking for courtesy from the rest of the council to move my resolution ahead of that. I think whatever I might say or those that feel likewise along my thoughts are going to say it at some point tonight at any rate. So it makes sense to move things in the proper order where they logically would flow. And so I don't think it will take any more or any less time by doing that. And so I'm asking for the courtesy from the council to support those, the change in the agenda items.
Well, thank you for that, Councilor. I believe that would have been a city council open discussion. We've been glad to get to it, but we took care of her, Pat, so that's out of the way. So very good. Number 4 is Audit Committee. Anybody from the Audit Committee? No report from Mr. Costello. Fiscal Committee.
I've been on vacation. There's no report. Thank you.
Very good. Now we have Land Use Committee. Is Mr. Greg Jamison.
No report.
Very good. Do we have a meeting next week, Greg?
I would have to check.
Okay, I think we do. So we'll see about that. Public Services Committee. I know you met last week. That'd be Kenny, I believe. Sorry.
Yes, sir. We have decided on moving forward on the campaign finance amendments, and that should be in front of the council in the near future. And we are still working on the ordinance overseeing some of the events and block parties in Sioux Falls. That also should be passed on in the near future.
Very good. Any questions of Kenny? Seeing none, now is our chance for City Council open discussion. Mr. Bennigan.
Now I do have my brain working. I would request that in this evening's discussion that we segregate, if you will, the public parks budget from the rest of the budget's vote. The Center for Active Generations line item has been moved from the mayor's budget to the Parks Department budget, and if that's not moved from the total general budget, I will not be able to vote on the budget this evening. So I would have a conflict of interest, so I would appreciate your support in moving the parks to a separate item. If anybody has any questions, be happy to answer those.
Questions of Joe? Very interesting. Okay, is anybody else, Dr. or Mr. Staggers?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify for everybody that the first amendment that I have, which says the 2009 general fund revenue budget, by deleting $1,101,930 in property taxes, 2.9% CPI, that's in regard to eliminating a property tax increase. So I just wanted to clarify that. And then also, I just got these amendments today because I've been out of town, and there are 3 amendments which didn't have everything that I had total. And so if I read just a handful of extra words, if you wouldn't mind, just to clarify. So.
A handful of extra words?
Oh, I'll count them here. 1, 2, 3.
Pardon me?
4, 5, 6. That's over a handful.
Would you like to go through them now, Mr. Staggers?
If you want me to. All I'm doing is putting down totals, that's all.
Well,
Yeah, that's all there
I
is.
think we're amenable to going through them right now if you'd like.
Oh, do you want to go through all the amendments, or just? No, okay, let me just do the ones that, okay, the amendment dealing with the 2009 general fund expenditure budget by reducing the 2009 organizations receiving contractual service agreements to the amount they received in 2008 with reductions as follows. Then the total of $84,738 was not put on the amendment. So I'm going to say total of $84,738. And Then the amendment that says the 2009 general fund expenditure budget by eliminating all new general fund positions with the exception of the 5 new police positions with reductions in the departments as follows. Then I'm going to say, not on here, is total of $435,421. And,
I'm sorry, Councilor Staggers, that's $431,000 and what?
okay, $435,421. And I thought there was another amendment, but I guess that's it, actually. So,
Do you want to take a vote on those now, Mr. Staggers?
well, it'd be illegal for us to do that, Bob. We can vote on all of them tonight if you want to.
And I'm sure we will.
Okay. Pat?
Mr. Costello?
Kermit, did you want to total the First Amendment, just along with your train of thoughts there, the senior companion and the youth enrichment one?
That's Gerald's.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I think if it gets a second, Pat, I'd be happy to total it for you.
Mr. Jameson, did I see you wave? No? Okay, very good. Anything else for the good of the order here today? Any comments? Very good. Next up, we're going to go to some presentations that we have today, and first one that I'm going to have come forward will be the update on the Collections Research Center by Bill Hoskins, the museum director. Bill?
Good afternoon. Bill Hoskins, Director of Siouxland Heritage Museums. I just wanted to take an opportunity to sort of refresh your memories and bring you up to date on some long-range planning for the Siouxland Heritage Museums. Museums were formed in 1974 through a joint cooperative agreement between the City of Sioux Falls and Minnehaha County. And really that united the Pettigrew Homan Museum, that had been a city museum since 1930, and the Old Courthouse Museum that became a museum in 1974. Under the joint cooperative agreement, we have an 11-member board, 4 people who are appointed by the City Council, the mayor or his designee, who in this case is Councilmember Staggers, 4 members appointed by Minnehaha County, a Minnehaha County Commissioner, and finally, the 11th member is the president of the Siouxland Heritage Museums Alliance, which is a 501c3 private nonprofit group. The board meets monthly, the first Thursday of the month, and I would invite any of the council members who are ever interested to come and attend. I know you have lots of meetings. And I think in your handout you have a list of our board members. What I really came here today to tell you a little bit about is the museum's collection, the artifacts that we hold in trust for the public. There are in excess of 70,000 artifacts. They range in size from a political button about the size of a dime up to the Faywick Flyer, which is about 19 feet long, 8 feet wide, and weighs about 2,800 pounds. The collection is basically stored in 3 locations. The Old Courthouse Museum, primarily in the attic and the basement. The Pettigrew Homan Museum, again in the attic and basement, and in an off-site storage garage. Primarily, in all, it occupies about 17,000 square feet currently, primarily at the Old Courthouse Museum. In 2005, and I guess what really led me here is a number of years ago, I noticed some construction anomalies or inconsistencies at the Old Courthouse Museum. And in 2005, I had a structural engineer, Doug Pedersen, come and look at the Old Courthouse Museum. I had him initially come to look at the problem I was seeing in the north end of the attic. He did a survey of the whole attic space and looked at a couple other things. Basically, what Doug recommended is that nothing be stored in the attic of the Old Courthouse Museum. And in fact, a majority of the space doesn't meet the minimum code for light office space. We have some conservation issues there, but at the moment, they're really side issues to me. There is no heat. There is no air conditioning in the attic. There's no humidity control. So those are things that make collections managers cringe, but it's really the structural issues that have brought us kind of forward. In 2007, Minnehaha County spent approximately $20,000 fixing the structural problem that I saw years ago that led me to bring Doug in, which was really an overloading of one of the roof trusses. All of that went into Bob and Kari Hall announcing their intention to donate 25 acres of land to Minnehaha County on behalf of the museums. And that was done here, I think, in one of the February joint meeting. And what we've really done since then is worked with the Halls to get a topographical survey of the land. The land's now platted, and they're working through the last details of their taxes for the land transfer, which Kari plans to do at our October board meeting. In 2007, the museum has an endowment that's managed by the Sioux Falls Area Foundation. The museum's board voted unanimously to take $10,000 from the endowment's revenue and use it to employ Chris Schultz of Coke Hazard to do some concept planning for a possible plan for a collections research center. And that's, I think, material that you all have. To date, that's really where we're at. There's a number of big issues that we need to figure out as we move forward. One is a timeline for the project. I am concerned about continuing to store things in the attic of the old courthouse. I don't think it's a dire threat, but it's something that I don't think is good for the historic structure. Funding for the construction is another issue that we need to work out. I guess I envision something that's along some kind of public and private cooperative venture with the museum doing a certain amount of private fundraising. There are some options that we've included in the plan to date. I was involved in the Joint Archives Committee that I think met and made a report to Council and Commission a couple of years ago now. And I really realized the issues that government, city, county, courts, all deal with regarding record storage. And I think that this may be an opportunity to help government with record storage. That's a decision I think city government will need to make if they want to be involved in that. I know courts are very interested. A number of the county offices are very interested in record storage and working with the museum and doing that. And those will all go into helping us decide some of the long-term operational costs, which to me are a paramount concern. What it's going to cost to maintain something over a long time. I am certainly willing to answer any additional questions. Primarily, it is our collections, the museum board collections committee that is working most closely with the staff in planning this at this time. We have made I have made presentations to the county commission. They're aware of what's going on and being planned. And I would offer you, we do public behind-the-scenes tours of our collection 4 times a year. There is one this Thursday night, September 18th at 6:30. So any member of council or the general public or press that want to go on those tours, if you come to the old courthouse at 6:30, we can do that. I know your schedules are somewhat limited at times, so if any of you ever want to see our collection storage, I would be happy to set up tours for you individually or as a group at your convenience, if you want to let me know. And that's really where I'm at the moment. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Councilor Bennigan.
Bill, this looks like it's a capital improvement project, if you will, in the facility that we own together with the county. All of our CIP budget hearings and dollars invested in that go through that process. Have you made your appeal to that particular group?
At this point, no. I'm looking ahead that I would probably, I think the CIP process starts in January, and it would be my intention to try and make some efforts that way starting in January. Really, I think before we get there, Bob and Kari gave us are giving us 25 acres of land with the intent that we retain some of it, sell some of it, the proceeds to go towards construction. So I think there will be a certain amount of private money available, and we have some other indications of people who might donate. So I certainly, my hope is that it could be something that the city might help fund, the county, and as well as private fundraising.
Councilor Knudsen.
And if there are citizens out there listening to this presentation today and they have some valuable items that they would like to donate to the Old Courthouse Museum or the Pettigrew Home and Museum, what should they do to make those items available?
Well, certainly. We have a new curator of collections. Her name is Lisa Stutz, and they can call Lisa at 367-4210, the Old Courthouse number, and she'll be happy to meet with them and look at things to see if they will work within our collection.
Anything else of Bill? If not, thank you very much for your presentation, Bill, and I think I'm going to take you up on that tour.
Okay.
I'm interested in that old courthouse museum. I was reading through your structural report here, and I'm a pretty nosy guy, and it looks pretty interesting. So
Okay.
if we could get up in that attic sometime, I'd really appreciate it.
Would you like me to call you, or do you
That'd be
want
great.
me to work with Deb? Or?
Let's well, you and I could just deal direct on this. I
That'd be
think.
great.
Very good. Thank you, Bill.
Councilor Litz, it's a tour worth taking. Bill does a good job in
Very
showing you
good.
around.
Thank you for that, Mr. Brown. Thank you, Bill. Then next up, we have a Housing First update by Stacy Teason, who is our homeless coordinator. If you recall here a while back, we hired Stacy as a joint employee of the county and the city, I believe. So how's that working for you, Stacy?
It's working smoothly.
Very good.
Council members, thank you all for having me here today. My name is Stacy Teason. I'm with the Homeless Advisory Board. I'm the homeless coordinator. Basically, I'm here today to just talk a little bit about some fun things that I got to go and observe in Salt Lake City about 3 weeks ago. I was able to attend the Rocky Mountain Continuum of Care and HMIS Symposium, which doesn't really mean a lot, but it's focused a lot on Housing First and 10-year plans to end homelessness. And we got to, as part of that, go on tours of programs that were in Salt Lake City. And two of those that I went to were Housing First programs dealing exclusively with the chronic population, which, as you know, is really where we've been focusing with the Homeless Advisory Board and the site committee that the council members and county commissioners have been on. So I just was asked to come and talk a little bit about some of the things that I saw, some of the things that really stood out. The two things that really stand out for sure are the size of these two buildings, because they have a much different homeless population than we do there. They're looking at 13,000 homeless people in the core area of Salt Lake City, and about 1,300 of those are their chronic population, whereas we have about 100 or so here, and a total of 648 homeless people in the city of Sioux Falls, Minnehaha County. So definitely different numbers, but Sunrise Metro was the first one that I got to look at, and it has 100 apartment units in it, and the other is Grace Mary Manor, and it has 84 apartment units in it, and both of those are the single room occupancy type, very standard issue. They're both about 380 square feet per unit. If you recall, in our business plan, we talked a little bit about 250 square feet is what we were looking at, and with some of the conversation that we had at this conference, that was probably bordering on too small. 380 seems to be a typical size that people are looking at across the country. And the people that built both of these, they definitely did some slight exploration and a lot of touring before they opted for what they did. They went to Seattle, they went to Chicago, they went to New York, they went to Washington, D.C., and just got a really good visual of what other cities are doing. And as you know, there's about 150 Housing First programs more every day going on across the United States. So we're definitely following the lead with what's going on if we go forward with this Housing First program in Sioux Falls. And just really some of the fun things that they were talking about are just the way they're designed. If you look at building a link between the community, Grace Mary Manor has the police department that staff the desk on the night shift, which, as anyone knows, the police encounter the homeless a lot more, especially the chronic homeless, more than anyone else. And so being able to reestablish that relationship and prove that people can really get along and communicate shows, a strong sense of community for them. And they're both beautiful, beautiful buildings. I mean, they had a lot of community buy-in with what their programs looked like, leather furniture, community rooms, workout rooms, library, stuff that would be really interesting and nice to have, but we also know that what we're trying to sell here is pretty solid, pretty basic, and definitely not something that we would really, although we could say we'd hope for, wouldn't necessarily be something that we'd be able to achieve here in South Dakota, or Sioux Falls even. But they definitely, when they were doing what they were doing, they did a pilot program, a lot like what County Human Services has been doing. So it's not a new thing. They tried for 2 years to see what the numbers would look like, and they experienced, I don't have solid numbers on like what numbers were reduced and things, and I did make a request to Grace Mary Manor just before I got here to see if I could get some numbers, but Grace Mary has only been open since February. So they basically got 6 months of numbers that they're looking at, but they said that they would try and get me something, and I can certainly share that. But one of the numbers that just stood out was Volunteers of America in Salt Lake City offers the detox program, and they had 19 people that they had sent to live in Sunrise Metro, and prior to that, they had been using $18,000 in detox service, $18,300. In the 6 months after the move, they were down to $1,263. So that's a pretty significant decrease in the amount of detox services that are being utilized by those individuals. I wish I had numbers for the ER, but I don't, because that also is a big user. And then a smaller one was just for the mental health services. That was about $4,700, and that decreased to $1,947. So just based on those numbers, it's definitely a cost-effective kind of concept in utilizing the emergency services less. Just really, the concept of the rooms, they're all designed for safety. So people worry that when you're intoxicated, you don't remember to do all the things that you would do when you were sober. So they have emergency shutoffs on the stove, so they automatically shut off after 30 minutes. So that definitely reduces the risk of a fire. They have emergency pull cords in the bathroom because, like we talked about before, hospice is more the type of individuals that we're looking at, people who are really kind of end of life just because of the severity of their alcoholism. And then, let's see what else. Kind of just really working the units. I mean, they've got different approaches that they do, but obviously the big concern is whether the program would be a wet program or a dry program, which means would they drink on site or would they not. And both programs are wet. They allow them to drink in their rooms. They cannot be intoxicated in the common areas. They have secured entrances on both of those, so on all the entrances, so they can determine who they're letting in and who they're not. And they're staffed 24 hours a day to make that possible. And then I had, as an additional handout, the numbers like for the funding for Grace Mary Manor. And that, again, like I said, is way bigger than what we're looking at. That's 84 units. But it took them about $9 million to pull that off. And it took, if you look at it, at least 16 entities going in together to try and make that work. But what we're looking at with the city and the county is dealing with a group of people here that we don't think we'd be able to get funding for from other entities, other nonprofits. This is really that group of people that no one wants to help. And I know Vern has talked about that a little bit before. It's really those people that there's not a lot of reward. I mean, you're going to put the time in, and one day they might be doing great, and the next day they might not. They're not like the cute little kids and the homeless families that other entities might buy into. And this is really our first big jumping off point. We haven't done a Housing First program before, and so we're taking the chronics on. And we know that that one is going to be the one that's going to be the most difficult for everyone to buy into. We know down the road we're going to need housing programs, more affordable housing for people as we go forward with that 10-year plan to end homelessness. But as of right now, our focus is truly on the chronic population, and that's what we're looking at. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions of Stacy. Councilor Knudsen.
Stacy, thank you so much for being here today, and thank you even more for your work in our community with these very important people who have some serious difficulties that they confront every day. And I guess I would just like to ask if you would tell the world what your work phone number is, if there are people out there that would seriously like to make this their project for this next year, and they might even have some land that they would consider contributing to our community for this great purpose.
That's wonderful. That would actually be a great plug right there. If anyone has land that they're willing to look at donating to this program, definitely I'd be happy to take that call. I am located at the County Human Services Office at 521 North Main, and my phone number is 367-4217, and I'm extension 121.
Councilor Brown.
Just one thing to add, Stacy also briefed us on this at the Homeless Advisory Board meeting today, and another benefit by the information you presented was the financial stability that some of the residents received. Maybe you want to touch on that briefly, too, on how they became somewhat financially stable.
There's all kinds of things that you can do when you have case management services and an address to call your own. And for the people who finally have a place to call their own, they can start applying for services that they've never been able to. So people have been able to access their VA benefits. People have been able to access Social Security and disability, been able to get Medicaid and Medicare. And those are things that would also actually still apply here once we were able to get things moving forward. It's just a matter of having staff availability to follow through on things, because we send people away with 20-page applications and expect them to be able to fill it out when they're really not all that able to understand the information in front of them, and they feel a bit overwhelmed.
And to follow up, Stacy, that money then, their incomes are then able to offset.
Yep.
Basically pay rent in the facility, correct?
Yep. Some of those programs have the ability to have vouchers provided to them so that goes to subsidize the rent. We don't have available vouchers here in Sioux Falls for that, but being able to pay a portion of your rent would definitely offset the costs of the Housing First program.
Thanks, Stacy.
Councilor Jameson.
Yes, thank you, Stacy, for all your work. It's a difficult job. Can you just remind me what the average age of the homeless person in Sioux Falls is? I thought I had it right once, but I just want to make sure.
The average age, I'm not sure, I was just asked this morning, because the statistic that's been going around is that the average age of a homeless person is 7. In the United States, that's the average age of a homeless person. We're probably looking closer to 45 in Sioux Falls when it comes to the more chronic population. But if we're looking at statistics, 53% of our homeless population is kids under the age of 8. So I can do that. I know that number.
Councilor Staggers.
Yes. Stacy, I've met with 3 of the chronic homeless here in Sioux Falls, and that was a very good experience. But what you were saying today is that this is kind of a hospice end of life. I guess I didn't view these people as being end of life, and I'm a little concerned that what if they hear that this is a hospice end for life? Can you say something about that?
When we're talking end of life, we're looking at some of those that have like, there's one of them there that has congestive heart failure, who's just really, truly at a passing point in his life, and we're trying to house him as safely and humanely as possible. A lot of these people have been drinking since they were 8 and 9 years old, so how their livers are functioning, their diabetes, all kinds of things, and they haven't been getting medical care for it. So now that they're in the Safe Home Project, that is what they've been able to do, and they've been getting in to see go in for regular checkups. So when we talk hospice, we're talking really kind of those. But we also know that we have people that really could just benefit from services and receiving standard care, and that wouldn't necessarily be the end-of-life type. So we have both, and truly we have about 150 people in the community of Sioux Falls that we would say is more of a chronic in need of transitional permanent supportive housing and case management services.
Mr. Brown.
2 points to make. One to Councilor Stagger's question. Some of us learned over the weekend that alcohol addiction and abuse takes 26 years on average off the life of an individual. So if we're talking about a 45-year-old, really they're functioning about like a 71-year-old. And also, Councilor Jameson's question reminded me, after the meeting today, I asked Wendy Giebink, who works with homeless issues for the school district, where we're at this year in numbers, because her job is to count how many homeless children and families we have out there, and her count is up to 350 by the end of today. And last year she was not at that number even by November. So the issues are out there, and once we get the chronics taken care of, the next step would be that family population. Now, when we're talking about families being homeless, it could be in a hotel, living with others, even living in a vehicle. Correct, Stacy?
Absolutely, yep.
Councilor Knudsen.
Well, and I just wanted to add that again, later this month, there was, the Housing First Site Committee is going to have another meeting with the county commissioners that are on that committee, and I think I've said this before, but if I haven't, I apologize for not doing so. But I just want all of you to know that you are welcome, whether or not you are technically on that committee or not. Just even if once in a while you want to come to one of our meetings, we would love to have you just to get your input all the way around. And again, we really are, some of us are many of us are really committed to keeping this issue alive. So please join us if you can.
Thank you for that. Stacy, I had one question for you. You mentioned one of the other cities that the detox costs have gone down. Now, maybe you don't know the answer to this, but in your estimation, was the detox a place that they were dumping people? I mean, because detox to me indicates that your alcoholism or your addiction is so serious that you need medical attention in order to live through the next 2 or 3 days, and that's what detox's function is supposed to be. I guess everybody's always interested in the money angle, but in your estimation, do you think that they were just setting people there to put them someplace, or?
I honestly don't know the answer to that in regards to Salt Lake City. In Sioux Falls, I know that there's detoxes where people go when they can't stay at the shelters because they're too intoxicated and they're not in need of emergency care. So it can be a backup, especially in the wintertime. And when that's $75 a night, that can be really expensive.
Okay, I'd like you to know, too, that I talked to this council a week ago during the informational, because I was with my 12-year-old son, and we stopped up at the North Main Water Tower and ventured down the hill, and the first thing we encountered was a couple on the ground sleeping. I think they may have been passed out. But we went down further in the hill there, and there are several tent areas, some sleeping bags, and, it was an active site, and it was in the daytime, so nobody was there. But it just sort of drove it home, and I would like you also to know that it has been, I was from the North End, and 50 years ago, it was the same way. So it's still going on down there. 40 years ago, it was the same way. It's still going on down there, but I think the extent of it probably has gotten... There's no structures down there, and these tent places, it's still there. And then another thing, my daughter spent some time in Los Angeles this year, and she had occasion to go down to the Union Pacific and the bus place there to pick up a friend of hers who came in on a train, and she was shocked that there were blocks and blocks of people sleeping in cardboard boxes. And I don't mean these are big city blocks, and it's just like a little neighborhood with all these sizes of boxes, and I think she was rather shocked. And I know the climate is a little bit different down there. It seems to attract folks because they don't freeze to death at night. But just a comment on the homeless situation in this country. Councilor Knudsen.
Yeah, I probably don't need to say more on this, but just 2 weeks ago, it was a Saturday evening, a very beautiful evening, actually. I mean, maybe a tiny bit rainy, but still a beautiful fall evening. I was most comfortable in my home. And I had a phone call from a lady here in Sioux Falls whom I've known a little bit for a long time, who does lots of good things for underprivileged people. And she was just really, really looking for ideas from me on what to do about a young mother with a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and she was pregnant also, homeless, of course. And they had used up all of their time at the Union Gospel Mission. And what would I suggest? And it was just another good reminder to me how blessed I really am.
Thank you for that. Anything else of Stacy? Well, Stacy, we'd like to thank you for that report and those insights into what's going on there, and we look forward to hearing from you again in the future.
Thank you.
So, thank you. Next on the agenda here, is there anything else for the good of the order? Kenny? No? Very good, Kenny. Okay, then the next on our agenda here is the executive session, so I would look for a motion to go into executive session.
Councilor Litz?
Yes,
Just
sir.
a comment, without knowing more about the executive session, like Councilor Staggers, I'm a bit uncomfortable with going into it, so I will be voting no.
Very good. Councilor Knutson?
I would prefer that we not go into executive session on this issue also.
Well, should we just do a straw vote on this here?
Well, is there more, is there more we need to know? Again, I have great respect for the city attorney, but
I would have just a couple questions for the city attorney. You indicated that because of the work product that might be, this topic is, I'm curious because the work product's been out there. Is there more to it than that? Or?
What brought it out was, I think, an inquiry from Councilor Stagger. And so we have done some research and considered things as far as a position to be taken in behalf of the city as to why it is a fee. And to be very candid with you, I think that is an attorney-client work product. Now, if the council doesn't want it and you want us to do work for other people, that's fine. But that's just, I was just saying that would be my position. And it doesn't muzzle anyone from claiming otherwise.
Councilor Costello?
I see that our attorney Greenfield is here as well, and presumably is going to present that. Greg, are you comfortable that this falls under executive privilege?
Yes.
Mr. Cotter, I'd ask you the same question.
If I
Mr.
could ask
Staggers.
a question. Okay, the information that's going to be revealed, is there any reason why the public shouldn't know this?
Well, the public know it. In what way? It's your position that it's a tax, right?
Yeah, I know it's a tax, but I know your position is going to be different.
I haven't seen your legal research on it, Counselor, but anyway, we looked at it in order to give you what our advice is.
Mm-hmm.
And you can disagree with it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You have that right.
Mm-hmm.
And you can ask questions about it. But as far as for what our research has been, I think that is our work product for our client, is all I'm saying.
Yes.
I'm not arguing with you.
Yeah.
You know, we can disagree, but we can disagree professionally, too.
Yes. But there's, what will be presented, the public, is something.
Well, what are you going to present,
No,
other than
I
your
asked-
opinion?
No, I asked for your opinion to find out what it is. I know what mine is right now.
Yeah.
And it's possible maybe I would change my opinion after hearing your arguments. But that's basically, I wanted to know why the city decided to say this is a fee, when to me it seems apparent it's a tax.
Mr. Staggers, he's answered that question at least twice for you.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do
About the
here
public?
as chairperson. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a straw poll of
We'll just have a
the
regular
members
vote.
of this council. I have the floor, Mr. Staggers. Thank you. I'm going to take a vote of the council members that are here right now, and we're going to decide if we want this to be public or an executive. Now, all those in favor of going public with this, please raise your hand. All those in favor of keeping it in executive session, please raise your hand. Well, looks like we're going into executive session. I would look for a motion to go into executive session.
So moved, Costello.
I got a motion looking for a second.
Second, Jameson.
Second, Jameson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Brown. I would ask now that anybody not involved with the executive session, please clear the room.
Better be good.